I think I'll head over to get you tomorrow at around 10 a.m. or so. Did that work for you?
I'm so anxious about everything right now that I'll be awake bright and early tomorrow, so you bet that time will work for me.
Well, that's not an answer that makes me think that things are okay there.
Well, I'm finally going to get to meet your mom after you asked for my hand in marriage. And asking me not to get nervous about meeting her now is like asking a fish not to swim.
I'm sorry about that. I really wanted to come and meet your parents first to talk about all of this.
And I'm sorry that my parents are always so busy and never seem to have the time to come around us. I'm worried right now whether this gift that I've got to bring to your mom is even enough or not. Do you think I should bring some other stuff as well?
I said you'll be alright. You bought some stuff for my mom that she likes, and getting a ton of things for her would be too much since she lives by herself now. She wouldn't even be able to eat all of those chocolates, right?
I get that, but...
I think you'll be just fine, Mindy. Now, there's something I'd like to ask you. If you don't want to do it, you can just say no to me, okay?
You have something else to ask of me? What do you need?
Well, actually, before you come over to see my mom again, well, my mom is asking to talk with you over the phone.
What do you mean?
Well, she told me to give her your number, and so... Well, you're gonna be seeing her again tomorrow, so if she really wants to talk with you, there's always tomorrow. But it seems she really does have something she wants to ask you over text or something.
I wonder what she wants to ask me. Well, I guess I don't really care if she has my number or not.
I didn't get to hear everything from her, but I think she wants to talk with you about having you make lunch for us tomorrow, so that might be what this is all about. She might be asking you if you have any preferences on what to cook and things like that.
I guess I'd be the same if I had something to ask about before meeting up. But I'm sure she already knows about the kinds of foods I like and what I can cook, right?
Well, I guess you'll just have to wait and see what this is all about. You okay with talking to her then?
I think I'll be fine. I'm sure she'll need my number anyway, since we'll probably start to talk even more now that she knows that I'm your fiancé. And of course, after we marry, she'll want to stay updated about us.
Well, she does have a lot of time on her hands ever since my dad passed away and left her all this money, as well as some of the money I give her every month, so... I just want to tell you right now that if she finds out you do have a lot of time to be on your phone, she'll start texting and calling about everything. You sure you're gonna be alright with that?
Stop trying to make it seem as though she'd never stop talking to me. I'm sure I'd rather be able to talk to her when I need to, rather than never be able to talk to her at all. And I doubt she's going to be as crazy as you think.
Fair enough. And you love to communicate with others, so I guess there was no stopping you from wanting to talk to my mom.
Well, that's just my thing, making sure that I have all my bases set through asking and confirming.
Well, I'll go let her know your number and then the two of you can start chatting. If there are ever times you're too busy to respond to her or she just starts to get a bit annoying, just let me know. I'll handle it. I just want you to know that you don't have to be on the phone with her all the time, okay?
Thank you.
Oh, and one other thing. If she does say anything you don't like, please be sure to let me know about it right away.
Does something I don't like?
I think things will be alright between you two, but, well, that's at least what I want to think. Actually, when it comes to my mom, she really loves judging people based off their education.
Based off their education?
Well, even though he's not around anymore, my dad graduated from Harvard. And as for my mom, she's from an all-female school in the UK where she graduated from while her parents were living over there. So she's always going on about what kinds of degrees people have and about where they've gone to school. I was actually very lucky to have her as a parent because, well, she made sure I was able to go to a really good high school. And then after that, to an amazing university and everything, without even having to test into them.
Is that so?
Really, I did want to go to the same school as my friends, but well, she ended up having a path already laid out for me, so there was not much else I could do about it.
Well then, am I going to be okay?
Well, I told her that you are a lot like my dad, so I think she won't hold too much against you. Well, that's what I want to believe, but I think she'll refrain from saying anything to you over that pretext. I'm sorry if what I've talked about has caused you any worries.
No worries, I'll be all right. After all, she's your mom and she birthed and raised you, right? So I doubt she'd be the kind of person to only judge me based on my education and would be much more open-minded towards me, just like you've been.
Thank you so much for saying something like that.
And if she does mention anything about my past, well, I'll just explain everything around it to her.
I'm glad you have confidence, Mindy. Now, I'm going to give my mom your number, okay?
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you, Mindy. This is Richie's mom, and you can call me Lorraine. I understand that the both of us will be meeting again for what seems like the first time in such a long time, so I'm sorry for texting you the night before. I am assuming that this is your number, Mindy? Nice to talk to you again, Lorraine. And thank you for allowing me the chance to finally come and meet you for lunch tomorrow after all this time. And thank you for taking your time to contact me the day before. Well, there are some things I'd like to ask you before having you come out to meet me. So I made sure to ask my son over and over again to give me your number. I'm not catching you at a bad time, right? Not at all. I'm happy to be able to talk with you right now. And so, what's this that you'd like to ask me about? Tomorrow, we'll all be getting together to have lunch and talk, correct? I've been thinking of ordering sushi for lunch. There's a very famous sushi restaurant just down the road that I can ask to bring us some great food. But I wanted to ask and make sure you're okay with raw fish. Thank you so much. I love eating sushi. Well, that's wonderful to hear. But I have to ask, weren't you planning on having me cook lunch for all of us tomorrow? Well, I just decided on having sushi instead for lunch so that I didn't stress you out with this visit all too much. And this was only one of my questions for you. Only one of them? What I really have been wanting to ask you, we'll talk about right now. You are aware that both my husband and my son are Harvard alumni, right? That's right, and I'm well aware of that. My husband is no longer with us anymore, but he graduated from one of the best universities in the U.S., and right after he graduated from there, he began to create a large group of companies that he managed, and then later brought me into his life to become his housewife. So you are well aware that when it comes to someone, the one and only thing you can judge everything about them based off of is their education, right? I suppose you can judge someone pretty well based off their education. My son is in the same boat now, graduating from Harvard and landing himself a job that pays him very, very well. He even makes enough to send me an allowance every month. Of course, I'm able to live very easily with the money my husband left for me after passing away, but Richie has been thinking a lot about my future and said that I shouldn't try to use up all that money so quickly. I've heard from Richie that he's sending you money every month. He really is such an amazing son. He sure is. I was really worried about what would happen with everything after my husband passed. But now that Richie is sending me money, I should even be able to live off of just that amount for the rest of my life. You can tell just by how wonderful my son is that me birthing and raising him was without any flaws. Without any flaws? You're talking about Richie, right? I tried a whole lot of things with that boy, ever since he was a little guy. And after making him go to a private high school and then off to Harvard, I can say that he is my little masterpiece. I heard from him that you made sure he went to all the schools you wanted him at. My husband is from Harvard after all, right? And I might not have come from Harvard, but my school is international, so I can still brag about it, right? You both have graduated from very amazing schools, correct? That's right! In England, everyone would call the college I went to the College of Princesses. So not only is it well known over there, but it's viewed as a school with quite an image of luxury and fine education. But it's not just my husband and I that graduated from college, but all our parents as well. So I really do have a bias towards schooling, even after high school. But we can just say that's all in my genes, and it'll be in my son's genes as well. In his genes as well? So this is why I want my son to date a woman with a history in education, and I want him to marry a woman that is from some higher education. And I want him to have kids with her that are all as smart as him and his wife are. I see. And so that's why, starting now, I have some very important things to ask you. Can you please tell me what university you graduated from? I understand that this might come as a heartbreaking surprise to you, but I never graduated from any university. What? What does that mean? Are you trying to tell me that you never graduated from anywhere like Harvard or a school like mine? I'm sorry, but I've never been to any sort of high-level university like the ones you've mentioned. But you've at least gone to and graduated from a school overseas, right? No, actually, the last level of education I graduated from was middle school. Middle school? You have to be kidding me right now! Why would a person like that be going out with my son right now? No frickin' way! This all has to be some kind of twisted joke, right? I know for a fact that recently young women like you just love to be sarcastic and make jokes, such as this one. No, this is not a joke. You and my son met within his company, and that's where you both started dating, right? That's what both Richie and you have told me in the past. And as we've said, we did meet inside the company. But you'd have to have a pretty decent education to be working in the same company as my son, right? So tell me how a middle school graduate could have ended up there. And I'd love to explain all of that in detail to you right now. Don't tell me you have ties within that company and were brought in through the back door. The back door? Well, there are things like that, right? Companies need to start hiring more women, and so they do it only for their image, right? Either that, or you have some kind of friend running the place and they brought you in without you ever having to take an interview. I bet that friend of yours knew about Richie and you've been wanting to marry him. So your friend allowed you to start working within the company only so that you could get him and then leave as soon as you're both married, right? I cannot believe what I'm hearing. My son, who I've put so much blood and sweat into, is being carried off by some idiot of a wretched woman. Hold on for one moment, Lorraine. Allow me to explain everything to you. Stop talking to me right now. I don't even want your phone number anymore. I want you to forget about ever having the chance to marry my son, okay? I did not raise my son to marry someone who's never graduated from college and thinks that it's fine to work at a high-level company only to get to my son. Could you please stop saying that about me? I understand that I only ever graduated from middle school. But there is a very important reason for all of that. No matter what kind of excuse you give me for that, it doesn't change that you have no education. You are a middle school graduate, and that's all. My son was so good with his studies back in the day, but I guess he was a weak spot for women like you. The girl he was dating before you was the same deal, telling me she had no plans of going to college. And so I told her to get lost and that she'd never have a chance to marry my son. Huh? Never get a chance to? My husband and I both come from elite backgrounds, and we made sure to make lots of powerful friends to help us raise our boy into a man that would be able to do anything. So when we finally said to him that he could start dating, we told him all the women he brings home only get one chance to impress us. Well, can you let me explain what's going on here so that you'll be impressed with me? No, I will not. I don't want to talk with a middle school graduate like you any longer. You'll only start to make me more stupid, so I have to leave before that happens. And know that your marriage to my son is no more, please. Just give me a chance. Think about your son's happiness and let me explain what's going on here. I told you that you weren't going to get married to my son, right? I haven't even bothered getting that sushi I said I'd order for lunch, so get lost. I can't believe that a middle school graduate is even in our house right now. If my husband knew about this, he'd be appalled. I came here to have a word with you. Well, I don't want any of your words. But if you do this to me, you're not only going to be tossing me out, but your own son as well. Well, maybe next time you shouldn't be coming into my house like this after I've told you to stop trying to marry my son. Richie is upset with you as well right now, though. He's only a child still, so he has no idea about the intentions I have. I'm sure as he continues to grow up, he'll understand everything here. Not only was he surprised about how you wouldn't listen to me, but the fact that you didn't listen to him either before throwing that bucket of water all over me. He's furious now. Well, you deserve to be drenched in cold water like that since you never took the time to take life seriously by getting a proper education. Are you really going to try and end all of this without ever listening to either one of us? There is nothing I want more than to have you shut up and leave my sons and my life at once. Do you really think my ears have the patience to listen to you? I am not interested in you anymore. You are nothing more than trash in this society, and such trash is not welcomed here. You're going to regret all of this then. The only one that's going to regret anything is the one that's missed her chance to marry my bright and wealthy son. You'd never be able to last long anyway with a Harvard alumni like my son. Now stop with all this nonsense and leave my son right now. You'd want me to leave him even though he's my employee? Huh? What are you talking about? Your employee? There's no way in hell he's your employee, right? If anything, you should be his employee, and even then I wouldn't believe it. When I say that he's my employee, I mean that as in he's one of the workers I've hired to work for me. And so far he's done everything to make sure that the work I give him is done correctly and on time. And, well, since he's so good at working for me, it's almost like he's working with me, so maybe I should call him my partner more than anything else. You've employed him? What? What do you mean? Are you finally going to listen to what I have to say now? Explain all this crap to me right now! Why the hell is my son your employee and not the other way around? Well, it's just as I've said. The company that Richie is currently employed at is the company that I'm the CEO of. CEO? Stop playing around with me! No way in hell is a middle school graduate smart enough to own their own company! I actually started working a job of my own in elementary school. And recently, it's not that strange to see younger and younger kids making money through things like YouTube and other services, right? You had a job when you were in elementary school? I do think that studying is a very important part of all our lives, but when thinking about things like high school and later college, I figured that growing my own business would be far more beneficial. So after starting my own company in middle school, I focused more on expanding it than working on homework and such. And when I was finally out of middle school, I chose to test out of high school and then worked full-time making sure my company took off. Excuse me? In my case, my family had been running a business of their own already, so being around them helped me better understand the business world. Are you telling me that my son is currently working for a company whose CEO has been working since elementary school? Actually, that company is long gone now. I sold it to someone else when I was only 11 years old. You sold it? Correct. I sold it when I was 11 to someone who said they could get better use from it. I was even able to sell it for a decent amount of money. So I used the money from that company to start a newer and better company for myself in middle school. Hold on for just 1 second, Mindy. What the hell is this? Something about all of this makes it seem as though you are actually capable of running your own company. Well, when you say it like that, I suppose I am saying all of this like I'm capable. And that's because I am, and I have all the proof to show for it. And not just within my current company, but from all the success I've had from it. As of right now, I own a penthouse in one of the taller towers downtown, and it's got 3 bedrooms in it. A penthouse with 3 bedrooms? Tell me how much money you're making with that job. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you all of that since you don't want to talk much with a middle school graduate like me. Just know that I'm able to employ a lot of workers within my company, and in return I gain a lot of money from the work they give me. I'm sorry that you happen to care so much about everyone's education and judge them based off of only that one part of their life. Since I only ever made it to middle school, it must hurt you so much to see me making off better than your own pride and joy, right? Well, it's too bad I can't explain anything more about this since you wouldn't want to listen anyway. No, wait a second. The only reason I was judging you so much based off being a middle school graduate is because I thought you were after my son's money. What should I say about this? I didn't know you had a company of your own, and that's why I said so many things like that. Well, you made it pretty clear to me that you didn't want to listen to what I had to say about my company. Well, that's just because I had the wrong idea of you. Just the wrong idea. I was so looking forward to getting to know my fiancé's mother even more, to the point that I was jumping out of my chair when we first started to text the other day. I assumed that since you were the one to raise such a loving and amazing boy, you'd be just as loving as him. Well, I suppose I just had my hopes up a little too much. You didn't even want to give me the chance to talk to you in person about myself, and I've lost the excitement I had the other day. So I believe the two of us will be going now. Such a shame, since I was looking forward to this day. Hold on for 1 minute. I'll go out and get that sushi for all of us. Do you both think you can stay for a little while longer so we can relax and talk? How does that sound? We should both take some time to sit and talk about ourselves a bit more, since we both seem to have the wrong idea of one another. Richie's telling me that he wants to go, so I'm going to follow him out, okay? Good day to you, Lorraine. Hold on! Mindy! When I saw your full name, I was thinking that you might be pretty famous, and, well, after looking into it more, you really are quite an amazing person, right? And when talking about yourself, you really are a beautiful young woman. So your education and such doesn't mean anything to me now, after looking at the wonderful woman you are, both on the inside and outside. And when it comes to men, of course they care more about looks than about your actual education, right? I don't think you have to talk to me anymore, Lorraine. We are both well aware now that your son told you he was cutting ties to you, right? No, wait a moment! I just wanted to talk to you today about how amazing of a person you really are. I'm sorry, but I can see that you're just trying to get to Richie through me. But you won't be able to, because not even I want to talk to you anymore. Please don't say such heartless things to me. We are going to become in-laws really soon, right? You're going to become my daughter-in-law really soon, so you shouldn't have to say things like that about me, right? So let's both work together to fix things within our family so that we can all go back to being happy and loving with one another. Let's begin fixing things right now. I'm not going to become your daughter-in-law, though. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? That's all exactly what it means. I'm not going to become your daughter-in-law or anything like that because he'll be marrying into my family and getting our last name. And not only that, but he already told you he's cutting ties to you, right? Wait a sec. He's getting your last name? That's a lie, right? Tell me that's some kind of bad joke. Richie told me he doesn't want to share the same name with a family that only cares about people's education and nothing else. And once again, he doesn't want you in his life anymore either. So don't expect him to stick around with you anymore since he's going to be a part of my family now. I'm sure that you can see now that once he has my last name, his connection to you is pretty much gone, right? This has to all be a lie, right? He's my only child, Mindy. If he changes his last name to be your family's, then my family will be... This is what he wants to do. He's told me that he's had enough of you and that last time was in fact the last straw. The last straw? Did you even notice that for the longest time, ever since he was a kid, he's been upset with the choices you've made for him? You were the one that forced him to leave all his friends to go to some private high school, and then sent him to Harvard to study for something he never cared for. And not just things like that, but with his first girlfriend, you told her off even though she was going to be entering trade school and everything. But you didn't view that as a higher education and forced her to break up with him. I was just making sure that he ended up with someone who would match his level. And that ex-girlfriend of his turned out to become a very famous dress designer. She ended up going to a fashion trade school, and after that was taken on by a very famous wedding dress studio, where she's now working as a very well-paid tailor making dresses for all kinds of celebrities. Did you know that? That's bullcrap, right? And she's going to be the one making my dress for the day I get married to your son. Right now, she's happily married to a man that's given her a wonderful home to live in, and in return, she had 3 kids with him. And they are all living peacefully together. I get that it's important to have an education and everything like that, but when you have things like a great personality and a smart head on your body, you don't really have to worry about things like elite colleges and snotty things like that. I mean, Lorraine, have you even cared about anything else regarding your son besides his education? Of course I have. I'm his mom, after all. But you didn't know a thing about the company he was hired into, correct? Well, I just assumed that since he graduated from Harvard and was on a path to finding a great job for himself like his father, I didn't have to worry about what kind of company it is and who runs it. Well, just be aware that the money he's been sending you these past few years is going to stop as well. Huh? He's going to stop sending me my money? Your money? He said he's cutting ties to you, and that's what happens when someone cuts ties to someone else. But what's going to happen to me in my life, then? Well, I'm not sure. But the two of us are going to get married, and shortly after that, we'll no longer really need to think about you anymore. It's not too late for me yet, right? It's okay for me to come over to your place now and come see you two, right? I'm going to make things right again between all of us. Make things right again? How's that supposed to work when things were never right to begin with? We were supposed to start out with everything being cool and just having a conversation amongst each other, but instead, you splashed me with ice-cold water and told me to get lost. And I am so sorry about that. I will make all of that up to you, I promise. I'm glad we were able to meet at least one time in person where we both got to see our true nature. Don't say one time, though! From now on, I want us to meet each other all the time! We told you that we're cutting ties to you, right? Which is unfortunate since we only just really met. But because of that, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. So, goodbye forever, Lorraine. Told Lorraine farewell, and then right after that last message, I blocked her number. And right after that, I deleted her contact information and everything. Richie did the same as me, and blocked both her number and deleted all her information. And ever since we both did that, we haven't had to worry anymore about her trying to get in touch with us again, and that's left us both with a lot of peace of mind. As of right now, Lorraine is living life without the money her son would send her, only being able to use the money her husband left her from now on. And as she's doing so, trying not to spend too much of the remaining money, she's been looking at old photo albums of her son and crying, thinking about the past she had. I guess now that she's pretty much lost the one thing that made the present so nice to her, she's going to have to live in the past forever now, with the younger version of Richie that she bragged about so much.